Welcome back to another Spider-Man PS4. This is not a Spider-Man PS4 video. What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another Ultimate Spider-Man review. My name is Cameron and this is the review for Ultimate Spider-Man issue 116. If you want to, guys, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram. The links in the description, and you can just see like early previews of like the thumbnails, and we all interact with each other. And if you comment on one of my Instagram pictures, I'll go into your profile and see what you're doing on there and everything. I'll comment on some of your stuff and like it and everything. So if you want to do that, you can just hit the links in the description. Good. And if you haven't yet, I've just done a Spider-Man PS4 video on the new gameplay. You can click up here as well to check that out. But in terms of this review, what happened in the previous issue? Well, obviously Spider-Man was captured by S.H.I.E.L.D. We had Carol Danvers wasting Spider-Man's web fluid whilst also sort of interrogating him. And it was really surprising as well because Kitty Pryde came to Spider-Man's rescue to break him out of there. And one of the best things is just like, Carol Danvers obviously didn't know what she was doing. So when it came down to it, she made Kitty Pryde and Spider-Man technically agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. But we also had Green Goblin on the other side killing people and basically going after what he wanted, which was his money. We still don't know why he wants that specifically though. Like, is there a plan? Either way, as we got towards the end of the issue, we had Spider-Man and Goblin falling from the top of the building, and Spider-Man doesn't have any web fluid, and obviously Goblin is just probably inevitably going to hit the ground. So that is where the issue left us. And you've also got to keep in mind, there are people on the streets, like there are literal people just walking around, and you've got a giant Goblin and a young Spider-Man. Like, what's going to happen? You'll have to find out. But luckily, we're going to find out right now. So let's start the issue. So getting into the issue, we're starting off with Green Goblin and Spider-Man falling from the top of the building, right where we left off in the previous issue. And I just love the sense of urgency as these two characters fall to the ground. Every single other person begins to freak out. And I think one of the main factors to take into account here is that they only care about Goblin falling to the ground. None of the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents are bothered about Spider-Man, even when his web shooters aren't working. However, the only person that is bothered about it is Kitty Pryde, and you can tell, oh my god, it's just so good. The way the comic is set up, where she's diving towards the ground, trying to reach him before he splats. And the way the comic is written and the way that the artwork's drawn, it really creates a sense of fast-paced craziness. Like, you're literally on the edge of your seat reading this as if it's like an action movie. So I think that was really well done, and just like the sense of direction, like the close-up of the faces, and it was just super tense, so I love that. Now, thankfully, both Spider-Man and Kitty Pryde are alive, and they've actually landed in the sewers, but once they go back above ground, Green Goblin has escaped, and there is absolute destruction everywhere. Obviously, when Green Goblin hit the floor, he's literally a monster who is on fire. So when it hit the floor, it caused this massive explosion, and one of the most annoying things, and I think that's something that's put across to the reader really well, is how annoying it is for Spider-Man when the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents and the police officers and everything try to arrest those guys as well. Like, these guys were S.H.I.E.L.D. agents a few minutes ago, and then the rest of the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents just turn around and want to arrest Spider-Man and Kitty Pryde again. It's so infuriating, but it's like that on purpose because it's designed to make you feel how Spider-Man feels when this happens to him. But moving on, getting into one of my favorite moments of the comic, Kitty Pryde and Spider-Man have a little bit more of a conversation, a bit more of a development of their situation that's been lingering over these comics for the last few issues, and that is their relationship and how they broke up and everything. And for the first time, they're actually having a proper conversation about it, kind of. But the main thing to come out of this is the fact that Kitty Pryde is considering dating Kong, and I told you in the previous issue that we're going to see Kong and Kitty's relationship grow over the course of the next few issues, and this is where it begins. And it's actually really exciting. Even though those guys are like a little bit more as side characters right now, it's still awesome to watch. Even further into the issue, Brian Michael Bendis does a really good job of developing Peter Parker's character even more by showing one of the major characteristics of Peter's personality, which makes him a great superhero, which is taking it upon himself to care for others, especially the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents that are sat outside his house. And I actually loved this interaction a lot. It was so awesome how the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents were actual fans of Spider-Man, and they respected him. Even though he's a 15-year-old kid, they thought he was cool enough to have a little bit of a laugh with, show him some of the gadgets that came with that van, and it's so funny and just so interesting. But when Peter goes back into the house, Norman Osborn is sat there waiting for him. And I just love this because Norman Osborn comes across as that villain in the Ultimate Universe that is the main nemesis of Spider-Man. And he's got this whole badass persona around him, like he's so dark and he's so sort of invincible and untouchable. It really gets put across into the pages through to us as the reader. It's just so awesome. I'm also very fond of how this mutual understanding goes down between Peter and Norman Osborn. Like, they are literal enemies, but they've got history, so they can have a mature conversation, talk about things, and not actually dive at each other and start fighting immediately, and I just love this whole interaction. And I actually believe it makes the comic better as a whole. But again, I thought it was brilliant how Peter held his own ground, wasn't really scared of Norman Osborn, but was more humorous in the conversation, making jokes towards him, calling him crazy. And let's be honest, Norman Osborn is definitely crazy, but it's also interesting to wonder why Norman Osborn wants his old life back. Why does he want his son back? Why does he want all his money back? Like, what does he want to do with his money? It's very, very interesting. Now, whilst these guys are talking, the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents slide a piece of paper under the door, because obviously they don't know that Norman Osborn's there, but they're just respecting Peter Parker's privacy. And it turns out Harry Osborn is on the news live, talking about how his father is a liar, how Norman Osborn murdered Harry's mother, and it is all pretty crazy. And you can see by the end of the issue there, Norman Osborn is not happy about that. He's about to light up and turn into Green Goblin right there in Peter Parker's house. So that's not going to end very well. But of course, the Ultimate Spider-Man comics, they're really good at leaving us on a cliffhanger, and that was a good cliffhanger as any other comic. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this issue, but let's go back on camera and talk about it a little bit more. So getting right into it, one of the best things about the issue, in my opinion, was at the very, very beginning, when Kitty Pryde was reaching for Spider-Man as they were falling to the ground, and there was just this really intense moment of like, are they gonna do it? Like, I could actually visualize the comic in motion. It's so weird. But in doing so, it was really intense as well, and it was crazy how she only just made it, like literally by the tips of her fingers, and that sort of intensity that comes from a comic book on the pages, that's how you know it's done well, especially with the artwork, because obviously we know the artwork is like a little bit mess sometimes, but in this comic, in this saga, it's actually been pretty good, so props to that. We also got a little bit more development in terms of Peter and Kitty Pryde's relationship. Like, there's a little bit of forgiveness there, and you can see that they're sort of becoming friends again. And it also got brought up that Kitty is thinking of dating Kong. And I did mention in the previous review that we're going to see their relationship sort of grow and come together, and you'll also see a little bit more of a development in Kong's character as well. As it was mentioned in this issue, Kong sort of gets pushed around and told what to do by Flash Thompson a little bit, so it'll be nice to see Kong sort of come into his own character, as Peter mentioned in this comic. Something the Ultimate Spider-Man comics never fail to do as well is showing that Peter is a good guy in general. Like those S.H.I.E.L.D. agents outside Peter's house, Peter didn't have to like go outside and see them and talk to them and give them food and drinks and everything, but he did it anyway, and it just shows the sort of personality and character Spider-Man / Peter Parker is, like without the suit on, if you get what I mean, like just as an overall human being. And I've got to give props to Brian Michael Bendis for that, because obviously we're 116 issues in, some writers might forget to sort of still develop on that side of Peter's character, but Brian Michael Bendis doesn't. He just continues to do it. He's really good at his job. And I really like it how the comic gave a reason for Goblin not to go outside and kill the agents. So for example, Peter could have brought the agents in and tried to have Goblin arrested. Norman Osborn put the point across that he would probably just obliterate those agents. So I like how that was mentioned in the comic, so you kind of just didn't think, why didn't Spider-Man just get those guys to come in? So I'm glad that we got answers for that. And not to mention that interaction between Peter and Norman Osborn, it's very Batman / Joker-esque, you know, like where one character can't live without the other. Like, they sort of make each other's characters a lot more interesting. It's really weird, because they've got a mutual understanding of each other. Like, Peter didn't immediately attack Norman Osborn when he was sat in his house. They sort of have this light side and dark side understanding of each other. It's really weird. But of course, we also get left on a cliffhanger with the Ultimate Spider-Man comics, and this issue was no exception, with Harry Osborn appearing on live TV on the news on Harry calling his father out for being a liar, publicly saying that he killed his own mother. Norman Osborn is not going to be happy about that, and I've got to say the next issue, and I don't think you guys will expect it either. It is quite sad, a little bit sad. It is, it's a bit sad. So anyway, it's time to rate the issue, and this one was actually really good. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. Of course, I've already mentioned the art style, the intensity of Kitty Pryde reaching for Spider-Man as he was falling to the ground. Super intense. And again, going back to Peter Parker and Norman Osborn with that conversation, sort of understanding each other, it created this sort of dark loom around both of the characters, but you can feel that danger coming from Norman Osborn. He just radiates a sense of dangerous presence, if you get what I mean. So guys, that is it for this issue. It was a really short issue, I'm not gonna lie. It was only 15 pages long. Usually the comic is like 21 to like 19 pages, 23 pages maybe. So this was a really short issue, surprisingly. But guys, if you do want any more, hit the subscribe button and hit the like button on this video. And you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram by going to the links in the description. Remember, I'll be doing a Spider-Man PS4 live stream on September 7th. You can follow me on my Twitch, the link is in the description as well. And yeah, I will see you guys in my next video. Thank you for watching. Leave a comment and I will see you later. Goodbye.